And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome into RBLR Bucks, your ultimate podcast for everything Tampa Bay Buccaneers related. Well, folks, I am your co-host, Musab, and I want to tell you we got some stuff to talk about today, and I am so happy that you could all join us. I know it's the off season, but I'll tell you this, like I do every single week during the off season, there is no off season here at RBLR. And I'll tell you this, there's still things going on with our beloved Buccaneers. And also, we still got our other Tampa Bay teams still putting in that work as well. So that being said, I do also want to let you know before we get started, we also want to hear from you. So drop the comments in the live stream. Let us know what's on your mind, questions, hot takes. We got you covered. All right. So I want to, introduce my dynamic duo now. Let's just get right to it. I want to bring in the fire. So that being said, the man to my right, who's always bringing in the heat, whether it's breaking down stats or maybe dropping knowledge on the game itself. Boys and girls, Mr. Zach Blaine, how's the energy today, man?
Man, it's good, brother. As good as it can be right now, man. We got some unfortunate news about one of our dogs, but we're getting through it.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. But wishing you all the best, man, and hope you're still, keeping yourself busy with some other football action or
always gotta be
sports
always
as well.
gotta
So,
be, man.
yeah. At least can always be worse. I know there's always that one or 2 month like ugly period where there's like no sports at all, or
It's just awful.
yeah, that always
Sucks.
that always gets very, very painful. But the man to my left, the final puzzle piece to this iconic RBLR Buccaneers trio, Mr. Carter Brantley. What's the good word, my friend?
Oh, nothing much. Just chilling. Another week, another dollar. I don't know. But yeah, excited to be talking some Bucs football with y'all. Like you said, not the most chaotic time or anything. There's not a whole lot going on in Bucs football, but there's a little bit, and we'll get into some stuff. We've got a little bit to talk about, and we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl too, because it's Super Bowl week. And as much as we'd love for the Bucs to be in it, it's still an exciting time, still fun to talk about. There's been a lot going on in New Orleans. There have been people asking Kansas City players kind of some troll questions about the about the refs, which has been kind of silly, but also kind of fun. It's
Jameis Winston has been the highlight of all my Super Bowl update stuff so far.
Yeah, Jameis, he's out there doing his thing for sure. He's they just handed him a mic and said, "Hey, go do your thing," and he is doing that to a T for sure. Jameis has been quite a character for sure during these little Super Bowl press conferences and stuff like that. But before we get any further, if you like what you hear, if you want to continue listening, because we're gonna have a bunch of episodes coming out throughout the off season, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Let us know if you dig what we're putting out. Or if you disagree with something that we say, like Musab said, definitely hit the comment section, ask us some questions, or tell us that we're full of it. Either way, we'll be happy to hear from you. But to start off, before we get into the Super Bowl, there was some big news with the Browns. Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Obviously, it's Myles Garrett. He's that guy. He's that dude. He's one of the best football players in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'd make the argument that he's probably the best non-quarterback in the NFL, honestly. I know that people might say, oh, maybe Saquon, or oh, maybe Justin Jefferson, and certainly valid cases. But to my mind, Myles Garrett, my goodness, just the way that he can impact a game. So there's been a lot of people banging the table for Myles Garrett. Hey, Garrett to the Bucs. They want to buy his number's 95 or 99. I can't remember, but they want the Garrett jerseys. 95. Okay, yeah, they want the Garrett 95 Bucs jerseys. But got to be realistic. Got to think big picture. What's the maximum you'd give up if you're Jason Light? Like, let's say you're talking to Andrew Berry, I believe, is the Browns GM. Let's say you're on the phone. What's kind of the ceiling of how much you'd give up for Myles Garrett, Mr. Blaine? I'll start with you, man. What are your thoughts on the Myles Garrett potential to the Bucs trade?
You're gonna hate it, brother. You're gonna hate it. I don't think there's much I wouldn't give up, if I'm being honest.
Ooh, really? Okay.
I wouldn't give up anyone on our offense, obviously. If they wanted Jamel Dean, a first, some seconds, they could have them. They could have almost whatever they want. Everything that I'm seeing looks like we're gonna. I mean, every mock that I'm seeing, it looks like we're gonna go linebacker or edge in the first 2 rounds. So why not just go out and get the best edge in the game, in my opinion? And stats show he's definitely top 2 every year. So I mean, why not just go out and get the guy that we know is going to be productive for us?
So in the group chat, you mentioned being willing to give up your left nut. You can't forget that. But so I gotta level with you. So you mentioned 1 first and a second, but a lot of the kind of the offers that have been floating around are 2 firsts and kind of starting there. Do you go there, or is that kind of like?
I would give up 25 and 26 first, because the way I look at it is it's not impossible to trade back into the first with just picks.
Sure, absolutely.
So if it takes me giving up 2 firsts and let's say Jamel Dean, right, that gets his contract off the books. He's probably gone anyway. So I mean, I know Cleveland has a plethora of corners, so I'm just using Dean as an idea.
Sure. No, I get
so
you.
I have to give up 1 player and 2 firsts. I'm not scared to try and trade back into the first if there's someone that I really like. If there's not someone I don't like, well, then we got one of the best defensive football players in all of the NFL.
Sure.
Okay, I know one player doesn't make a team, but sometimes that one player can put you over the top. And I think with a guy like Garrett, I don't think our defensive backs look quite as bad, because he's not going to have – the quarterback's not going to have 4 years to throw the ball back there.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So what about now this is going to sound crazy. There have been floats of 3 first-round picks. Like, I think I draw the line at 2.
Okay, I think three is getting a little too pricey for me. I'm not willing to – I don't want to be the Rams. The Rams got away with it, but they had Aaron Donald, who, I mean, Aaron Donald, as much as I love Myles Garrett.
Not Aaron Donald.
Yeah. Not Aaron Donald. Yeah, respectfully.
Ooh, okay. Kristen asked, what about Trey Hendrickson instead of Garrett? That's an interesting one. Trey Hendrickson, obviously really good. The tough part about both these guys, they'll be coming over from 4-3 defenses into a 3-4. They're not necessarily outside linebackers, but that's a very minor issue.
Yeah, I'm more for that. I'm more sold on Garrett's ability to kind of adjust as opposed to Trey Hendrickson. I know Trey Hendrickson has the sack numbers, and I like that. But I just feel like Garrett, while Hendrickson would be cheaper, I feel like Garrett is a more proven commodity.
Yeah, and he's the thing about it is Garrett's contract plays a big part in this too. He'd probably look for a new one. He'd probably look for an extension, but it's a little more team friendly. And Hendrickson's is expiring this season, so if the Bucs did have to trade for Hendrickson, definitely would not cost multiple first-round picks. So that is the big upside. But if you're going to swing for a guy like that, why not swing for Garrett? But at the same time, Hendrickson's also very good. Like you said, he had a high sack total. But Mr. Treek, how about you, man? What are your thoughts on this? Garrett versus Hendrickson, but also what's the maximum that you'd go for Myles Garrett in these trades discussions?
I have to say, I mean, as you said already, Carter, I mean, Myles Garrett, he's a special individual, and the Browns would be idiots if they didn't take at least, 2 first rounders. So
yeah.
Obviously a little hesitant on that. He is definitely a big need. I mean, if you're looking at our offense, we're good on that. I mean, we're really just kind of focusing our defense for this draft, really more than anything. I gotta say, I guess, it would be worth the risk, of course. I mean, he would be a game changer, as Zach mentioned. I mean, this would definitely change the game for sure. Definitely, put a little less kind of stress on our interesting DB room. But now with the whole Hendrickson situation, I don't know. That's just kind of weird. I feel like that whole Bengals organization, I mean, it's just, he's just kind of like, kind of reminds you like lipstick on a pig. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that one guy who just stands out just because, I mean, someone's got to ball out, someone's got to rack up the sacks. Phenomenal player, though. I mean, I don't want to just take that away from him. But, yeah, I mean, to summarize it, I guess, maybe like 2 first rounders. That's enough for me, though. I know you had mentioned, maybe 3, but that's just too much. And even the first rounders, I mean, that's That's not something I'm just like totally like,
right. Yeah.
comfortable with just saying, look, no, let's do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a healthy thing to have a respect for the fact that, those first rounders. I mean, you look at the Panthers, like they gave up all those first rounders for Bryce Young, and man, one of them turned into a first overall pick. Like I know the Bucks are really good and everything, and no doubt about it. But like, God forbid this doesn't happen, knock on wood, but Baker Mayfield gets hurt, that first round pick turns into a first overall pick real quick, and then it's like, oh goodness,
Yeah.
SOL.
The difference with the Panthers is they gave up all those firsts for an unproven guy.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So, and now I wouldn't I agree with you guys 100%, would not give up 3 firsts because that's your whole future. But I mean, 2 firsts, like I said, if that's just 2 firsts and then a player, I could use seconds to get into the first. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not out of the question. And a lot of people have comped to this to the Khalil Mack situation when he was with the Raiders, getting traded to the Bears. I believe he cost 2 first-round picks for the Bears, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what they traded him for. But obviously, Myles Garrett's better than Khalil Mack was, which Khalil Mack, great player, but Myles Garrett just might be on another level right now. And so I mean, and there are going to be so many teams that are involved in this because, like, you look at just like even the teams that were in the playoffs this past year, like the Commanders will be a huge player in this. Obviously, the Chicago Bears are a really interesting team to monitor. I mean, there's just countless teams that might unfortunately just price the Bucks out of these negotiations simply because they have higher draft picks. So it's going to be tough. I'm not sure that the Bucks ended up getting Myles Garrett, but returning to the Hendrickson point, because I think it's an interesting name to monitor. It's only tough because the Bengals, like Mustab said, have such a void of defensive talent that, you kind of want to keep the guys that are good. But at the same time, like if you give up Trey Hendrickson, maybe you can parlay that into, more of a deeper investment into the defense. So we'll see how that plays out.
Would you give up even 1 first for Hendrickson?
No, I would not give up.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, at most I'd give up a third if I was Jason Light for Trey Hendrickson. Not because he's not good, but just because the Bengals don't have the leverage for that Cleveland does in regards to just being able to kind of negotiate with all the different teams, because Trey Hendrickson's not as good as Myles Garrett, but certainly an interesting name to monitor. So not the worst idea in the world whatsoever, but focusing more on Myles Garrett because he's the trade requester, and as far as we're aware, Trey Hendrickson hasn't requested a trade or anything. But how much of a game changer in your mind would Myles Garrett be for this team? Like if they trade for Myles Garrett, like how good does this defense get? Musab, I'll start with you, man. Like what's the ceiling of this defense with Myles Garrett on it?
Oof, it's kind of hard to measure it, but I mean, it would definitely make a big impact for sure. Especially with, the issues we're dealing on both ends with our D line and our DBs. I mean, it kind of, as I've said, many times when we've discussed, I mean, if the D line's, taking care of it, then, we don't have to worry about the DBs. But if the DBs got it, then we don't have to worry about the D line. So this is kind of like, adding Myles Garrett to this, kind of this D line is definitely going to make a difference for sure because. Yeah, we haven't. I mean, there were so many games we barely put a dent on that quarterback, and hell, even that Commanders game, kind of, would have been nice to have someone like Myles Garrett. I think if we had Myles Garrett, it would have been a whole different situation. So, that's really just what it comes down to is, can he kind of be that difference maker? And we just had so many kind of close games as well. So it's just like, it's not like we're just far off from everyone else. This is not the Panthers getting the, Myles Garrett. This is the Buccaneers getting Myles Garrett, who are honestly probably just missing a piece or two, really, to just start running over everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the key is like you said, with Myles Garrett in the fold, it elevates the defense to another level. And the offense was clearly one of the best in football last year. So I know that losing Cohen and everything might change the calculus there a little bit, but they're still a really talented group. So I'm not really too concerned about it. And yeah, I'm with you. It's to a whole nother level, but yeah, I mean, it's just tough. You got to weigh the risks and the options, and how much value do you lose from those first round picks that you give up? It's really hard. It's a difficult discussion to have. But Zach, how about you, man? I mean, what are your thoughts on how much of a game changer Myles Garrett can be? I know you're more on the cornerback side of things, but man, Myles Garrett, huh?
So obviously I'm harder on our corners than I think a lot of people are, but I think that adding a guy like Myles Garrett, while he's not a corner, helps our corners
For
because
sure.
when you're out on an island with a receiver that runs a 4.3 40, like it's hard to keep track of him for 5-6 seconds. If we have a guy getting back there every single time, I think that makes it easier on our corners, which allows them to play more freely and allows them to play better. Maybe not like great because we still have some issues there, but I think you see a lot more turnovers and I think you see a lot more pass breakups because they're trying to get the ball out quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the big thing is just, it's the Bucks love to line up in the zone and all that stuff. But if you have Myles Garrett on the edge, maybe Todd Bowles allows their corners to get a little more aggressive. Maybe he's not thinking, oh, well, I've got Yaya Diaby and JTS coming off the edge. Like
Exactly.
we're we're not working with a whole lot here. So I love Yaya, but good Lord, he can't do it all himself. So it's just different. It's just a different different formula for the defense, especially when it comes to play calling. Even so, I'd be really curious to see how Todd Bowles would kind of shift things around. Because Myles Garrett, he's been the best edge rusher in football for like the past, almost since he entered the league. And like last year, he was almost the best he's ever been, which is crazy to think about because, he's always been really freaking good. But he led the NFL in total pressures. It's just insane to think about how good he has.
And I also, I mean, as y'all just mentioned right now, I was just going to say, I mean, it's not just only, we're just, the rest of the defense is just going to watch him just putting in the work. I mean, it's going to allow the rest of the defensive line to also,
for sure,
get some other opportunities to attack the quarterback or running back. And I do have to ask, based on, what y'all have seen right now with, the, 2025 draft prospects, would you guys be comfortable? I mean, I know we already discussed this, but it's kind of thinking about, well, would it be good for any team to kind of give up a couple first round picks based on, the talent that's coming in this draft? Is this, how do y'all feel about this draft is basically what I'm asking. Because, let's say some years, we're the quarterback room is just looking god ugly and sometimes it's looking real damn nice. So same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the good news about the Bucks is that they don't have a quarterback issue. They don't really have any glaring needs. Like theoretically, if they just ran it back next season, like they'd still be fine. Like they wouldn't, maybe here or there they might decrease a little bit. I know you're shaking your head, Zach. I get it, but theoretically, if they just held on to their picks and drafted well, they would be a good team next year again. So if they didn't trade for Myles Garrett, like even with this draft class, it's not quarterback heavy, but there's a lot of talent dispersed throughout the first and second round. So like there always is. So I'm with you. Like I get what you're saying. Like is this the draft class to maybe sort of buy low because the talent necessarily isn't as high? I don't know if I necessarily totally agree, but there's never going to be a draft class where I'm like, oh yeah, buy low. Like this draft class sucks. There's always good players. So it's kind of tough, but to say, but I mean, there's definitely opportunity for growth, even if the Bucks just held on to their picks, because that's fine. They've shown that they're really, really good at that. Jason Light has done such a marvelous job in drafting and just giving his guys shots that it wouldn't be a big deal if they just held on to their picks instead of trading for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay.
I think that there are some needs on this team. I think edge rush is a glaring need on this team.
For sure. Absolutely.
I don't think that just running it back with this group of guys, we did that last year, or we did that this season, I should say, and it didn't do us any better. I think that with this draft class, first round, it looks like once you get down to around us, there's no game changers, in my opinion. I know I've seen a lot of mocks that are having us take Jihad Campbell from Alabama. Really good linebacker. I would love to have him. But I think that as much as we struggled as a linebacker group last year, I think it was harder on us not getting pressures. And I would rather have a guy like Myles Garrett as opposed to a rookie linebacker or corner, which I think is the other glaring need for us. And in all reality, outside of like the top maybe 15 picks, I don't see a cornerback worth taking in the first round.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't necessarily disagree. And I didn't mean like just, carrying over the team. Like obviously
Yeah. Obviously,
mostly meant,
rookies and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, like standing pat was a better way of putting it, I guess, than just saying running it back. But
I was gonna say we didn't run it back exactly because they said we got Bucky Irving,
for sure,
Graham Barton,
Yeah,
so
I more so meant on defense because we definitely pretty much just ran it back on defense.
No, that's a good point.
Outside of
I can't say
Smith, we pretty much just ran it back.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I can't say Tyke Smith or Tyreek Funderburg's name like I just did for Bucky or Graham Barton.
Right, and
maybe that changes next year.
Yeah, he's Tyke's not. Yeah, Chris Braswell too. Oh man,
but yes,
I will say the big thing, we'll talk about it in the Super Bowl preview as well, but Nolan Smith turning it around in year 2, I think has been really encouraging. Just from the perspective of like, hey, sometimes it just takes guys time. Chris Braswell obviously wasn't the contributor that the Bucs wanted him to be this year, but second year jump, maybe. We'll see though.
And he didn't get all that much playing time, so I'm not told that he's a bust yet. I think that he's
no. Even if he got a bunch of playing time, like it's still one season. You can't
exactly.
Yeah, you can't fold just yet. But so going back to Myles Garrett, like just kind of just putting it out there because the Bucs have been in the playoffs the past seems like forever, especially in the context of this franchise. But they've kind of been just first round or second round exits. Does Myles Garrett getting on the Bucs roster turn them into Super Bowl contenders? Like, is that how big of a difference he can make, Musab, or are you still like, hey, there's still some other things they need to do?
I think so. I mean, yeah, once you're in the playoffs and, hell, I mean, if you're good enough to, get past the first round, I think that, and then, I mean, it's fair game for everyone. So, yeah, I would say, I'm not going to say a definite yes, but I would say like a sure, I guess.
Right. No,
if you get what I'm kind of saying, I guess like I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe I'm like a 7.5.
For sure, yeah, because I mean, you have to see how they play out with the rest of their draft picks and the rest of free agency, what they do with Chris Godwin. But in my mind, if they do trade for Myles Garrett, it puts them on the cusp of being a Super Bowl contender. Because Myles Garrett obviously changes their defense, but then it's the opportunity cost. Then they might not be able to re-sign Chris Godwin, or maybe they're not able to make as many free agent moves as they are, or they don't draft a first round, linebacker or corner or anything like that. So it's sort of a tough game that they have to play, but hey, he's Myles Garrett. Like, who cares? So Zach, how about you, man? Adding Myles Garrett, does that make the Bucs Super Bowl contenders and Baker's on his way?
I would have to agree with you that it puts us on the cusp. I'm not gonna. I can't say hypothetically it makes us a Super Bowl contender because hypothetically we're a Super Bowl contender in my mind every year.
Ooh,
okay. That's not realistic. I know it's not. So I can't say that we're a Super Bowl contender. But I do think that we are an NFC championship contender. I think that we are in the mix to be a Super Bowl team.
Sure.
Again, I think that he upgrades us more than we'll go out and trade for Cooper Kupp to replace Godwin for this year. We'll go out and trade for Quay Walker to get a linebacker. I don't care. Give me Myles Garrett. I don't think Kupp is as good as Godwin. I gotta say that for sure.
Yeah,
but
he also costs more money than Godwin probably would too.
Do you think?
I think he gets paid.
I think Godwin's going to get paid.
I don't know. The thing is, Godwin, if they let him go, if they let him walk, because Joshua Quapo did a great article on this. If they let him walk, he counts higher towards their salary cap than he would if they just brought him back. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense because but he would eventually get off the books, obviously. But just for his debt, they have all those voidable years nonsense and everything. They'd be able to rework his deal so that his salary cap hit gets lower if they bring him in. So it's sort of an interesting situation to monitor. I'd be very surprised if they didn't bring back Chris Godwin, but that's a topic for another week. We'll have more shows. Stay tuned for that. But if you're looking for a Super Bowl contender upgrade to your wardrobe, if you're looking for some heat, definitely head to shop.rblrsports.com. Musab's repping it. You see it. He's for the camera, for sure.
We've got team in the house.
Absolutely.
Does Miles Garrett allow us to be the dream team this upcoming year if we were to get him? I think that might be the real question.
Oh man, that is the real question. I don't know if I'll go as far to say dream team, but he'll definitely elevate us for sure into maybe nearing RBLR Sports, shop.rblrsports.com, that aura. But anyways, we'll give your promo code Cannon, CANNONS, 10% off your entire order. Definitely head there and check it out. We'd really appreciate it. But we're going to the second half of our episode, and we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. We promised you that at the beginning of the episode. Because it's Super Bowl week, it's fun, it's exciting. Everyone's sitting around talking about two teams playing each other that I don't know about y'all, but I don't really want either of them to win. They're both kind of unlikable at this point. One significantly more so than the other, but I don't know. We'll start with the fun stuff because this is the more fun part of it, in my opinion. The halftime show, Kendrick Lamar performing. He just won a bunch of Grammys. That's pretty cool. Zach, I don't know if you're a big Kendrick guy, but are you excited at all for the halftime show?
That's the only reason I'm going to watch Super Bowl, brother.
Ooh, me too.
Mostly because I hate Drake.
Ooh.
So
Man,
I'm all for it. I want to hear that song at least 17 times. I at the Grammys, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Having all those famous people singing.
Yeah, it was great for sure.
I loved it, man. That's legit the only reason why I'll be watching the Super Bowl.
Heck yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, I'm with you. That was a great moment. Absolutely. Mustafa, how about you? Big Kendrick head, or are you kind of?
No, I'm actually the opposite, gentleman. I really don't, give a damn about the halftime show. I usually don't, except I want to give a shout out to my beloved Shakira and J-Lo for their show in 2020. Oh, man.
I don't remember when it was.
Oh, man, that halftime show was so good. We were talking about it in our communication class the next day. Anyways, that's not the point. No, I'm rooting for the Eagles. I just, I love what they've done. I got a couple Eagle buddies as well, and they've been constantly yapping this whole season, and now they're on ultra yap mode because their team is now in the Super Bowl. But no, seriously, yeah. I mean their DB, having Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell, Zach Bond. I mean all these guys, Carter, Jordan Davis, and then hell, even having Barkley and Jalen Hurts. It only excites me to know that they genuinely really do have the capability to beat the Chiefs.
Absolutely. 100%.
All jokes aside with the whole referees helping the Chiefs and all that, I really do think that the Eagles have no excuse to not keep this close or not win. So should be a fun one though. Yeah,
it should be a good time. Yeah, I mean it should be a great game. Theoretically, it should be really close. Kansas City's played all their teams close and all their games close. It seems like they always manage to sneak it out at the end. We saw it with the Bucs game. They had to go to OT for it. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that these are two very evenly matched teams. It's the best roster against the best quarterback. Which one's more important? So yeah, I don't know. It should be a really close game, but I'm personally rooting for the Meteor. I hope that the game just gets canceled and neither team wins. Everyone has to go home unhappy. But I'd prefer the Eagles to win. Obviously, it'd be great to see them, the Kansas City not win. But man, Philadelphia fans can be really, really something else. But Zach, how about you, man? Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl?
I've got to go. I've got to go Philly because I hate the Chiefs with every fiber of my being.
Absolutely.
And I really like the way that the Eagles have built their defense. If seeing people draft corners high and putting a priority on that makes me very happy because I'm like, how much better would we have been with Quinion Mitchell or Cooper DeJean on this team? I think it solves a little bit of our problems. I don't think they make us a Super Bowl contender, but it solves our problems. So I got to go with the Eagles for that reason.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, they did a great job. I would also say it'd also be nice to have Jalen Carter on the defensive line too. 100%. It'd also be wonderful to have Vic Fangio. He's done such a wonderful job. Zach Bond, one of the best middle linebackers. But yeah, they
a stud.
Yeah, they've done a great job of building from the front back. And this season they were just like, oh, hey, we have an elite defensive line. Let's draft some cornerbacks. And they did that. And it worked out swimmingly. Obviously, they had the best defense in football this year, and it's not not particularly close in my mind. It's Philly, and then a pretty wide gap, and then the second best defense in the NFL. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to watch. Them try to contain Mahomes, try to contain Travis Kelce, and all that stuff, because they're a different animal. They're a different team when it comes to the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl. So we'll finish off the show. We got one more segment, kind of the predictions part of the show. Who you got winning? Who wins Super Bowl MVP? And if Kansas City wins, do you think Travis Kelce retires? I mean, there's a lot to go on. So we'll start with who wins and maybe throw in a score too. Musab, who you got winning and by how much?
Ooh, I got Eagles winning.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really have a specific score in mind.
That's all
I'll
right.
probably say it. I'll say it's like somewhat close.
Yeah.
I'll sprinkle maybe like a 28, 20, like a 28, 23, something like that, maybe.
Okay. Yeah,
I
no,
don't think
that
it's going to be
sounds
super
good.
high scoring or super low scoring. I think they'll both get their points
Mhm.
in here and there. It should be as long as it's a good dog fight. That's all I care about. As long as it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
There's not a bunch of kind of just bullshit calls on both ends.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, hope there's no discussions about the refs after the game. That would be lovely, but unfortunately,
There will be.
I'm with you. I'm unfortunately kind of bracing for it because it's Kansas City. It always seems to happen. Zach, how about you, man? Who you got winning by how much?
Kansas City, it's going to be a close game. Philly is going to go up in the fourth quarter. There's going to be like 2 minutes left, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to get the ball. There's going to be some BS penalties along the way. Kansas City is going to come back in. They're going to score. It's going to be 31-28. Kansas City.
31-28. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think Kansas City wins as well. That's who I've got. I'm going to go 21-17 Kansas City. I think, like Zach, I think they score, last minute, maybe not quite last minute, but, fourth quarter touchdown to go ahead. Because Kansas City's defense is pretty good. And Spags does such a wonderful job of sort of just, focusing on the priorities. I think if any defensive coordinator and if any defense is capable of at least trying to shut down Saquon and this running attack, I think it's Kansas City. I don't know that they'll be very successful, but I think that they'll at least be able to kind of slow him down. And Jalen Hurts, I think he'll struggle a little bit. He had an amazing game in the NFC Championship game. He looked fantastic. That was one of the best games I think he's ever played. But I don't know if that's repeatable for him because he's had a bit of a tough year. But
The part that gets me while I'm saying Kansas City wins is you already got Goodell asking if it's okay, asking Pat Riley if it's okay to use three-peat. Like,
yeah,
it all
exactly.
just seems so fishy. Like, you could have waited till after to do that. Now you're just showing me, like, all right, like, come on.
They're not playing their cards particularly close to the vest. It's a bit weird. But who wins Super Bowl MVP? Now, Musab, I know you'll probably have to, you'll have to pick an Eagle. So who you got from Philly winning the Super Bowl MVP?
I gotta go with Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, okay, I like it.
Yeah, I feel like I got a good feeling he balls out this game. I feel like him and Saquon, fingers crossed, just take off. Only because I just want to make sure that they kind of lock in the coffin or whatever and ensure that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have any chance. I would love for them just to run over the Kansas City Chiefs, really.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, that'd be outstanding. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get another Saquon moment, like him running to the end zone, like tapping his helmet or something. That was a cool moment. I'd love to see that again because, it's just it'd be a great story. A guy struggling on the Giants his whole career, kind of a Lamborghini tucked under a shed, so to speak, and then going to Philly and doing his thing and immediately winning a Super Bowl. That'd be great. I think if Philly wins, I do think Saquon has a big role in that. So I think Saquon wins Super Bowl MVP.
100%.
But Jalen Hurts winning it would be awesome because that would mean that would probably mean Philly ran away with it. That would probably mean a blowout. But I'd be obviously excited if either one of them won because that means Kansas City didn't win. But I've probably got just Mahomes winning the Super Bowl MVP again. Like very boring, very bland. No one really cares. Like, I don't know. Kansas City winning would just be such a drag. But unfortunately, the NFL can be kind of a drag sometimes. So that's who I got. But Zach, how about you, man? Who you got winning Super Bowl MVP?
Travis Kelce.
Oh, okay, okay. Now
So, like,
I'll bounce this back to you. Do you think he retires after if
no,
they win?
no, he's already said he's coming back.
Oh, okay. But see,
I'm
here's
not mistaken. He said he lives for this game. He loves this game. He's coming back.
all right. I like it. Yeah, it's just tough for me because guys, people can change their mind. People love to be, dramatic and we just three-peated. I'm done. That whole thing. So I could see it happening, but I'm with you. I do think he comes back as well.
I could see it happening, but I will say, as much as I hate the Chiefs, I like Travis Kelce. I
Yeah,
think
nice.
I like his podcast. I like him and his brother. Like
Yeah, it
everything
seems like a
about
good
him,
hand.
I'm a fan of. So like, if he didn't play on the Chiefs, he'd probably be my favorite player in the NFL.
Yeah,
Hazel agrees.
yeah,
But I don't think he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's into the flair of the dramatics. Like I don't think it's going to be I'm coming back. Oh, I'm retiring, but let me think on it. I need some time.
right.
Like I think he's going to go. Hey, this is my last year. I'm done. And he's going to let everyone know.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think he does come back, but you never know. It's football. Weird
Yeah.
stuff can happen. But we talk about you, man. You think Kelsey retires if Kansas City wins this one?
I don't think so.
Ooh, okay.
No, I don't think so. I feel like, especially with that kind of hype, especially after winning the Super Bowl, you got to have to at least run it back or
Yeah. Go
give
for
the
4.
impression that go for 4 or something. I feel like that just makes everyone happy. The media, the fans, everyone.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah, I do think he proposes to Taylor Swift if they win.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree.
It'd make for quite a spectacle, and that does seem to be what the crowd is looking for. It's what the people want, But
Look at that once. Oh, sorry.
right,
Allegedly.
right. No, for allegedly, yeah, for sure. But anyways, we're gonna end on that note. We'll come back at you regardless if Kansas City wins or Philly wins. We'll be back at you next week with another episode. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you to my co-host for making my job easier, as well as our super producer. He does a great job as well. Shout out Eureka. But give us a follow at RBLR Sports or at RBLR Bucks if you'd like to check us out and follow along as we navigate this offseason, because even if they trade for Myles Garrett, if they don't, it's going to be eventful. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Chris Godwin storyline, all this stuff. So definitely stick around. We've got some great content coming out at you for the rest of the offseason, but we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.
Wait.